NASCAR Cup Series brings us to the first state of the United States, here in Delaware, arriving at one of the most unique tracks in all of NASCAR. A high-banked 1-mile concrete oval that can see drivers hit over speeds of 160 miles an hour. It's a lightning-fast, grueling track to conquer, and if you win here, it's like you defeating the ultimate monster. But when dealing with any monster, you must tread lightly. Make one small mistake, and Miles the Monster will make you pay. Welcome to Dover Motor Speedway for the running of the Wurth 400. The weather here in Dover, Delaware is beautiful, and for the first time since 2021, we will race on its scheduled date and time. The mid to high 80s, partly sunny skies with winds around 8 miles an hour, heading southwest towards the racetrack, and virtually no rain in sight as we will go racing later today. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to an episode of MDK RaceDay. My name is Jet. Hope you're all enjoying your Sunday. What is the final Sunday of April, the month of April. So hope you're enjoying that as we get you set and ready for race number 11 of the series here at Dover. Now, the big story we're going to talk about heading into this weekend is, of course, what took place last Sunday at Talladega involving Legacy Motor Club driver Erik Jones. Erik Jones was involved in a major accident late in the race involving 3 other drivers in Bubba Wallace, John Hunter Nemechek, and Denny Hamlin that saw Jones hit the wall head on in turns 3 and 4. He immediately went on the radio to talk about how he was in pain in his back, but was checked and released from the Infield Care Center. However, later on, he went back to the Infield Care Center and was then transported to the UAB University Hospital in Birmingham, Alabama, before then checking with specialists in the Charlotte area, which confirmed that he has suffered a compression fracture on his lower back, thus meaning that he will not compete this weekend here at Dover. Corey Heim, who is currently driving the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series for Tricon Garage, will replace him in that 43 car this weekend and in next week if necessary. Now, luckily, Erik Jones stated that the injury was not severe, and they will be taking it on a day-by-day, week-by-week basis. So Jones was at the racetrack at Dover, so good to see him at least in good spirits. As for why Jones left the Infield Care Center to then go back, a lot of people were criticizing maybe if the Infield Care Center didn't do their due diligence. According to Erik Jones, that it was partly his fault, at least according to him, saying that when they were checking everything, that he, stated that the pain was probably just a muscle strain. It wasn't anything serious. Also, when you consider the fact that the adrenaline is still high, especially even after a crash, adrenaline is still at a high. With that, the pain tolerance is very, very high. You're not going to feel as much pain as you would if you're not under a rush situation. Once the adrenaline came down and Jones came back to normal, that's when the pain started to show up, and that's why he went back. So it wasn't really anything to do with the any issues with how the Infield Care Center does its procedure. It's just they didn't really know the severity of the incident because really Jones didn't tell them the severity of the incident. Because he really also didn't know. So that cleared up a lot of the confusion. But now let's take a look at the NASCAR playoff grid. Following a wild race last weekend at Talladega, Tyler Reddick becomes the 7th different winner of 2024, and he jumps up 3 spots to now be 43 points behind leader Kyle Larson. Mark Truex Jr. still in 2nd place, 15 points behind. Chase Elliott jumps up a spot to 3rd, -22. Byron falls to 4th place, -24. And then you see Ryan Blaney, Ty Gibbs loses 2 spots. Ross Chastain gains 2 spots, but the biggest mover was Alex Bowman with his top 5 finish at Talladega. He goes from 14th to now 10th in points. Bubba Wallace with his crash jumps now outside the top 10 at 11th place. Briscoe stays in 12th. Bell continues to struggle in these past few weeks, loses another 3 spots down to 13th place. Brad Keselowski with his 2nd place finish is now in the playoffs, and Joey Logano holds a final transfer spot, currently at the moment tied with Chris Buescher, who now falls outside of the playoff bubble. Kyle Busch in 17th, Daniel Swartz with his win, he is locked in 18th. Austin Cindric jumps into the top 20 in 19th, and Erik Jones, who is currently at the moment in the top 20 but will fall out after this race. Busch, the official beer of NASCAR and proud sponsor of the Busch Light Polo Award given to the fastest driver at each NASCAR Cup Series event, Busch Light congratulates Kyle Busch for his first pole of 2024 and the 34th pole of his career. This also marks the 2nd time RCR has won a Cup pole at Dover, with the first time being all the way back in 1982 with Ricky Rudd, which was RCR's first ever career pole. Kyle Busch Kyle Busch wins it this time with a speed of 162.191 miles per hour. Since 2020, Busch Beer has invested more than $70 million as part of the NASCAR Cup Series premier sponsors. So Kyle Busch on the front row for the first time in a long time. He will see the green flag. To his outside is the defending Cup Series champion Ryan Blaney. Row 2 has William Byron in the number 24 car, and to his outside is the last week's winner Tyler Reddick. How about Noah Gragson, 5th place, currently in my opinion the best driver from the SHR stable, sits alongside Denny Hamlin, a former Dover winner. Chase Briscoe, good run for him in that 14 car, sits alongside a great run from Michael McDowell, rounds out the top 8, and around the top 10 is Alex Bowman, who won here back in 2021, sits alongside colleague racing driver AJ Allmendinger, an excellent run for that 16 car. Row 6 has Ford's Austin Cindric for Team Penske. To his outside is rookie Josh Berry. Row 7 has Cup Series champion Joey Logano and Daniel Hemrick, another good run for that 31 car and for colleague racing as a whole. Row 8 has Martin Truex Jr., who won here last year, sits alongside Bubba Wallace in the 23 car. Row 9 has Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Chris Buescher. Round out the top 20 is Ty Gibbs and rookie Carson Hocevar. Kyle Larson, surprising 21st starting position for him, sits alongside Ross Chastain. Those two have history as they were involved in a crash last year that costed Larson a shot at the win. Row 12 has Austin Dillon, number 3 car, and Brad Keselowski still searching for his first win here with RFK Racing, starting in the 24th position. Row 13, lucky row number 13 has Corey LaJoie and Harrison Burton. Jimmy Johnson back at Dover for the first time since 2020, the 11-time winner in the 84 car, sits alongside Ryan Preece in the 20th position. And rounding out the top 30 is Chase Elliott, who won here 2 years ago, sits alongside Todd Gilliland. And the final 4 rows you see on your screen, Daniel Suarez and Corey Hyman, his first Cup Series start, replacing the injured Eric Jones, starting 32nd. Christopher Bell, who spun during qualifying, sits alongside John Hunter Nemechek. Kaz Grala, who crashed hard during practice, sits alongside Justin Haley. And Zane Smith, who also crashed during practice, he did not qualify, will start dead last. Let's look at the odds to win here for the Wurth 400. Kyle Larson, even though he's starting 21st, still plus 450 according to the odds on DraftKings. Still at the top of the board with the best shot at winning, Denny Hamlin at plus 550. Truex Jr., the defending winner, plus 650. Byron plus 700, and Blaney plus 750. Then from here on back, these are your long shots. Kyle Busch, the pole sitter, plus 900. Chase Elliott, plus 1100. Chastain, 1300. Reddick, 1500. And Gibbs, 1700. And then Alex Bowman on back. These are your real long shots. Bowman, Logano, Bell, and Keselowski. And then your dark horses of Berry, Buescher, Gragson, and then your long shots like Bubba Wallace, Chase Briscoe, and Austin Cindric sitting at plus 7,000. Alright, so what can we expect at Bristol today? It's very interesting. I have no clue because the conditions that these drivers endured during practice and qualifying on Saturday compared to the race on Sunday is vastly different. For example, number 1, cording. Many people, including myself, thought that, oh boy, are we going to have Bristol 2.0? We saw drivers and tires cording very, very early on during their practice runs, and we barely saw any drivers go more than 15 or some odd laps before calling it quits. We saw a lot of drivers have issues getting loose, getting sideways in practice. A couple drivers crashing, like I mentioned, is Zane Smith. He crashed during practice. Bell crashed during his qualifying, and Kaz Grala took a tremendous hit to the outside wall coming off of turn number 4. Luckily, he was okay and will race today, but that all happened during the practice and qualifying sessions. So Dover was very treacherous to deal with because of, the combination of the weather and the tire combination. Well, the difference this time around going into Sunday is that it's going to be 20 degrees warmer than Saturday, plus it's sunny. So you're going to have a completely different setup from Saturday to Sunday. Who will adjust the best? That's number 1. That's going to be something that'll be very interesting to point out, because you look at this top 10 that we got for the qualifying portion, it's completely just unusual. Again, Kyle Busch, considering the season he's had, for him to qualify on pole is very shocking. Noah Gragson 5th, Briscoe 7th, Allmendinger 10th, McDowell 8th. To give you an idea just how wild this is, of Hendrick Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racing, which by the way, they've won 8 of the last 11 Dover races, only 4 from either team are starting inside the top 20. That gives you an idea on how wild qualifying was, that the 2 most dominating teams of 2024, only 4 of them have qualified inside the top 20. That's another thing we're going to look out for, is those 2 teams who can step up to the plate. Byron is the best of those 2 teams at the moment. He's starting in 3rd place. Reddick, he's not a Joe Gibbs Racing driver, but an affiliate in 2311 Racing, starting in 4th. You look at it, maybe a guy like Denny Hamlin, a former winner here at Dover, could possibly have a run, a good shot at winning this race here today. Or a driver like Martin Truex Jr., who's starting in 15th place. This isn't a track where, yes, track position does matter, but we have seen drivers win from various starting positions. It's not if you start first or you start near the front, you're going to win the race, like at a Martinsville, for example. But I say that, but Byron did start in the back of the pack. But the point is that when you look at the track like Dover, you look at the last 6 races, 6 different winners. Not only that, they all come from drivers that either started inside the top 5 or outside the top 15. So it's really a track where it doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. So just because you see those drivers like Truex starting in 16th place, Elliott just starting inside the top 30, Larson starting in 21st place, just because they're starting in those positions, that does not mean that's how they're going to run the entire race. I expect to see a lot of comers and goers. Those drivers that are starting the back, those big name drivers, are going to find a way to make their way towards the front, which will be something that will be very entertaining to watch. But the thing that I think a lot of people are going to be also be wondering is Ford. Can Ford finally break into victory lane for the first time in 2024 in any of the NASCAR National Series? Still, they have a big old goose egg. We thought maybe Talladega, they had a shot at it, wasn't able to get it done. What about here at Dover? Well, I mentioned Ryan Blaney. He's starting in 2nd place, was fastest in the 5-lap averages, but was then 10th in the 10-lap averages. So who knows if he maybe doesn't have the long run car, which is something that Dover is very capable of, is having these very long green flag runs. Or if maybe some potential surprises like Stewart-Haas Racing, Gregson and Briscoe starting 5th and 7th respectively, especially that 10 car of Gregson. I feel like he's been the best driver from that SHR stable. That 10 car, I don't know if they have a shot at winning, but they have just been clicking off some very impressive runs. So I would watch out for that 10 and that 14 car here today. But outside of that, I can't really see any other Ford drivers. I mean, you obviously look at Joey Logano. Even though he hasn't won yet at Dover, nor in 2024, he's still someone that you just have to watch out for just in case. You can maybe look at RFK drivers like a Chris Buescher, for example, because I feel like that 17 team, and you can even also throw in the 6 team, they always find a way to make it work. They're currently starting outside the top 10, 18th and 24th respectively. But again, I feel like with the 17 and the 6, they've just been able to find a way just to make these races work. And they somehow, by all means, somehow find a way that by the end of it, they're in the top 10 or in contention in some way, shape, or form. So those are those drivers I will look out for from the Ford stable. But I think if you want to talk about a driver that has the best shot at winning from the Ford camp, you look at a guy like maybe a Ryan Blaney. Which, if you look at my Fantasy Live lineup, that's why I have William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, and Truex as my starters. But in my garage, I have Noah Gragson. I don't know, just these past few weeks, Gragson has always been flirting with the top 10. And in case one of my drivers has a problem, Gregson can fill in that slot nicely. But for my pick to win, I do have William Byron winning. Again, I feel like with this type of track, I mentioned it, that it could be a driver in the top 5 or driver outside the top 15. But I do feel like, again, with a track, when you talk about a track about adjusting to new things, adjusting to completely different setups, I feel like Byron fits that perfectly. And I have William Byron winning at Dover and getting his 4th win of 2024, because I do feel like it will once again be either a Hendrick Motorsports or a Joe Gibbs Racing type of day. One of those 2 teams is going to victory lane, and we're going from the Hendrick camp. I think Byron has the best shot at winning. But those are my thoughts, and that's what I think is going to happen here at Dover. Well, let me know what are your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think is going to happen, and who do you think will win at Dover? As always, make sure you come back here later tonight for MDK Racing Victory Stop, recapping everything that took place in the Wurth 400. Until then, sit back, relax, and enjoy the NASCAR race here at Dover. Until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Thanks for watching.